Hi guys, welcome back. I hope you're all well. I've been departed for a little while, busy with work and off for a couple of other projects with videos, but back on the health stuff today. It's a beautiful sunny day, so I've got the window open here. I'm sorry if there's any wind noise coming through. I wanted to talk a little bit about the famous internet diet drink formula that I know probably a lot of you will have seen, and it was brought to my attention. I've seen it before, but it was brought to my attention by a couple of people, friends that brought it to me and said, what do you think of this? It's something I've started doing. Apparently the internet says it 100% works. It will burn my fat off overnight while I sleep. And I was like, okay, that kind of sounds concerning straight away. I've got reservations about that. And they told me the ingredients, and I had a look at it online. There's loads and loads of different variations of this, but they're all based pretty much around the same sorts of ingredients. And it has some truth to it, and it has some fiction. And the way it's kind of set out most of the time is pretty fictional. So I just wanted to break it down. And we'll talk about possibly, if any, the benefits, and of course, the rubbish and lies and nonsense that they're talking about as well. So the drink in question normally revolves around hot water. So they tell you to boil the kettle, make a hot drink. And the hot water, they often say, it somehow heats up your metabolism and that burns fat, etc., etc. That just simply isn't true. That's complete nonsense. In fact, there would be more truth in the fact that saying having a freezing cold drink, you would actually burn more calories because your system would have to work hard to bring itself back up to temperature if you're putting something really cold into it. So that is completely the opposite to what's true. And to be fair, the kind of calories you would burn even having an extremely cold drink are very small. So you're not going to be able to burn loads of fat just by drinking ice cold drinks all the time. But if that's something you wanted to add as part of a calorie deficit plan, it certainly wouldn't hurt you. Anyway, into this hot drink, a lot of people are adding lemon juice, and they're talking about lemon juice being a fat burner. Now there's a pseudoscience here. Obviously we all know that lemon juice is kind of acidic. You could maybe clean some grease or fat spots away with it because of its acidic qualities, and I'm guessing that all pseudoscience is based around sort of things that sound true. So it sounds kind of true that kind of lemon juice would just eradicate fat out of the body and push it out, and you would just sort of excrete all the fat. And unfortunately, that isn't true. Lemon juice is a healthy thing to have. It's got vitamins and minerals in it, and there's nothing wrong with it per se, but there's certainly no studies out there that show that lemon juice is some kind of miraculous fat burner. Certainly nice to add to a hot drink if you're having a herbal tea and you want to put some lemon juice in it. Like I say, it's definitely got benefits. And anything with vitamins, minerals that are helping your system are going to also, in a way, as a byproduct, help with fat burning, because having a really healthy diet and making sure you've got all the right amounts of vitamins and minerals in your body is going to potentially prevent you from getting ridiculously hungry, because there are some pretty solid arguments in the sort of nutritionist community that suggest a lot of our hunger is based on the fact that we are not getting enough of some vitamins and minerals, and that's possibly why a junk food diet is making people more hungry. So they're tending to overeat more and more on the junk food diet because A, those foods are addictive, and B, they're never actually meeting any of their nutritional needs. So they just, the body's sort of saying, keep eating, we're not getting enough. So lemon juice, normally there's cider vinegar. Now this is an interesting one. I use cider vinegar a lot, apple cider vinegar. If you're going to use apple cider vinegar, firstly be aware that there's kind of two types. There's a heavily processed type, which is completely clear, and it has minimal health benefits because part of the filtration and stuff with that, it's had a lot of its good content just filtered out of it. So if you're going to have apple cider vinegar, go for the kind of raw version. You'll be able to tell because in the bottom of it, there's a bunch of gloopy, gunky looking stuff. Looks like a sort of fermented apple, which is pretty much what it is. And that's what they refer to as the mother. If you talk to, you know, people that are really into like spiritual eating and stuff. And that's been used for many, many different societies for generations, you know, and they talk about it having restorative and health benefits and stuff like that. The point being, it's absolutely jam-packed with nutrients, you know, vitamins, minerals, etc. So it's definitely worth having for that reason. But there is an interesting thing about cider vinegar, and any vinegar actually. Acetic acid has been shown in serious medical studies to blunt sugar spikes. So it will actually increase the amount of glycogen that can be drawn into muscle tissue, which is always a good thing, and it will slow down a sugar spike around 20 to 30%. Something that is sometimes hotly debated, but I feel that there's probably enough proof out there now from studies, etc., is that when we spike our sugar levels really high, that's being shuttled away by insulin in the body because the body desperately wants to sort of retain a safe sugar level in the bloodstream. And that glycogen is taken away, stored in muscles, stored in the liver, various other places. But once they get full up, any excess is basically turned into fat, and that is stored. So overeating and getting these sugar spikes can definitely lead to unwanted fat storage, normally around the midsection, which is why it's such a good indicator of people that are going to have diabetes if they've got very, very thick waistline. And if you can blunt that sugar spike and cause your body to kind of take the sugars in over a longer period of time, some of which will end up being excreted, then that will definitely have some benefits, not only to your overall health, but also to the fat storage situation. So there is an element of truth in that. The problem being that most of these proponents of this hot drink are telling people to take it at night before they go to sleep. And ideally, if you were going to utilise apple cider vinegar or any vinegar to sort of blunt your sugar spike, then you would actually want to intake that just before your meal. So if you're having a carb meal, you would take the vinegar before. So it's really easy actually. I often do it is just put a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar into a glass of mineral water or whatever, drink that before my meal, and then go to eat my carby meal, and that helps blunt the sugar spike. So yeah, element of truth, but they haven't actually sort of thought it through properly. Then often I see cinnamon involved in this drink, and cinnamon, very similar to what we just spoke about. There are studies with type 2 diabetics showing that taking cinnamon can help with insulin sensitivity. So that is also going to help you with your sugar spikes. You know, if you're more sensitive and you're more able to produce insulin, and that's ferrying the glycogen around the body, then your body's going to deal with that a lot better, and you're less likely to have any really erratic sugar spikes going on. So for the same reasons, you know, regulating sugar levels, there is some evidence that shows that cinnamon could be utilised as part of a fat loss plan. The important thing to note about cinnamon, there are several different types of cinnamon people often don't realise. There is Ceylon, there's Cassia, and I think there's about 2 more types which are hardly ever seen on supermarket shelves or for general sale. And the Ceylon, I think it is the true cinnamon. That's what they refer to it as. So if you go and type in true cinnamon on Amazon, and you'll find some sort of organic true cinnamons, those are the ones you want because they have got a lower amount of a certain toxic ingredient in them. The Cassia cinnamon, which is commonly found in the sort of herb and spice section of supermarkets, in the little Schwartz spice packets and whatever, that's the cheaper of the two, and it has a much higher, I think it's called coumarin, Don't hold me to that, but that if you take too much of that over time, it can have some toxic effects. I think it's pretty bad for your liver and kidneys. So just be very careful, you know, if you're utilizing cinnamon to try and sort of blunt your sugar levels and increase your insulin sensitivity, then just be aware that if you're doing that every day, make sure you're getting that true cinnamon. I think it's the Ceylon, double check on that, but I'm pretty sure it's the Ceylon. I'll put a link up in the description here so that you can be sure you're getting the right thing. I'll stick an Amazon link down there. Normally they're adding a herbal tea bag to this mix as well, and the popular one seems to be chamomile, and they refer to that as being some sort of sleep aid, and I don't understand really how they're getting from that to fat loss. They're not really describing that too well. But I mean, one thing's for certain, if it does aid sleep, and I haven't seen any medical studies to say it does, but there's certainly a lot of cultural and historical evidence, you know, of people using that as a kind of basic sleep aid. It's often been used throughout cultures, people given that late at night to settle them down and relax them, etc. So the argument there, I guess, would be that if you're getting a really sound and good amount of sleep, that you're more able to burn fat. And that is utterly true. We totally disregard, you know, the importance of sleep, not just for fat loss, but for muscle building, for general health, for our immune systems. You know, the list goes on. Sleep is like one of the, if not the most important thing that a human being can do. If you're eating a good diet, you're sleeping long enough, you're doing some physical exercise, and you're drinking enough water, those are pretty much the fundamentals of what we need to be doing to be healthy and have good physiques. And if you're not getting enough sleep, you're really doing yourself down. Don't kid yourself. You know, I've been in this situation where I've had loads and loads of work to do, and I'm like, oh, I only need 5 hours sleep. And that's like this mantra of these kind of new alpha male dudes that are out there saying, oh, I sleep for like 3 hours a night, and then I wake up and have 10 coffees and I'm doing the hustle all day, man. You know, that's what real men do. Look, that they're doing themselves a mischief. They're going to pay the consequences of that later on down the line. Can you get away with it? Yeah, of course you can. Is it healthy? No, definitely not. And it will mess with your hormones. It will prevent you getting decent lean mass gains. And, you know, we really need 6 to 8 hours a night, ideally 8. I struggle to get 8 still. I would like to. I normally get about 7. But you know, these are sort of hectic times we live in. We've all got work to do, etc. So there is an element of truth to that, that if indeed you find chamomile tea does calm you down, then it's certainly worth adding. So the other one I often see is ginger tea, or just ginger itself, you know, being grated into this drink. Ginger has a lot of kind of good vitamins and minerals in it. It's a healthy thing to have. Again, there's a lot of historical evidence that it's used for various different maladies, you know, normally for upset stomachs. A lot of people talk about it being a great reducer of inflammation and stuff like that. Again, if that's true, then there may be some sort of knock-on effect that if your body is generally healthy and it's low in inflammation and you haven't got a stomach upset, then obviously it's going to be better suited to processing foods and, you know, getting exercise and doing all the daily things you need to do in order to burn fat. So as a byproduct, yes, it could be argued that it might help you with your fat loss, but it's not doing anything particularly directly. And the last one I've seen added is garlic. Now, garlic is in the same kind of camp as ginger, that there's a lot of historical evidence, you know, people talking about having used it to fight against colds and boost their immune systems and stuff. Again, it's a healthy thing to have. I would not personally put it in a drink because it would be absolutely disgusting. You know, if you're going to have some garlic, chop it up and put it into some mince or, you know, some actual savoury food where it benefits the food and you still get the benefit of the garlic. There's no evidence to support that it actually produces any sort of fat loss on its own. There's nothing in it that's you know, going to give you some magical fat loss thing. So I would say, just as part of a healthy diet, it's not a bad thing to have, but it's certainly not got any direct relation. So if you're thinking about doing this drink, you know, there's some thoughts for you that you could actually take the components of the drink and the ones that we think could have some benefit, you can utilize them within your diet. In fact, in my diet that I've got up here, I utilize quite a lot of those. So I utilize cinnamon in my oats in the morning. I utilize the apple cider vinegar in my dressings for any of my lean fat and protein meals, and that's all going to be useful stuff within a diet. Do I think it's worth putting into a nighttime drink? No, absolutely not. I don't think that on its own is going to give you any real benefit. You're probably just as well to have a cup of herbal tea at night, something that you feel calms you down, to try and promote that good night's sleep we were talking about. I hope that's of use to you guys, and take care. I'll see you again next week.